Welcome to No Nonsense Psychiatry, the podcast that cuts through the noise and the confusion surrounding mental health. My name is Mark and I'm your host, and my goal is to give you the clear, practical information you need to understand your own well-being. No jargon, no fluff, just honest, helpful tools to help you on your journey. Let's dive in.
No nonsense.
Welcome back to No Nonsense Psychiatry, and this is episode 97, and today we're diving deep into the concept that underpins all of mental life, from logic and philosophy to anxiety and resilience, and yes, we're talking about belief. But what is belief? At its core, a belief is a mental state of taking something to be true, of accepting the truth as a proposition. Philosophically, it's a propositional attitude and your mental stance towards an idea. Psychologically, beliefs are the very scaffolding of your mind, the mental representations that tell you how the world works, guiding your every action and interpretation. But there is a double-edged sword. Belief is a double-edged sword for mental health when your core beliefs are maladaptive, rooted in feelings of helplessness, unlovability, or worthlessness. They become a filter, and they generate cognitive distortions like catastrophizing and the all-or-nothing thinking, driving cycles of depression, anxiety, and even self-sabotage. However, when harnessed positively, belief is the ultimate shield. Optimistic and explanatory styles allows us to view setbacks as temporary, fostering incredible resilience and a growth mindset. And positive core beliefs such as self-worth and capability activate reward pathways in the brain and provide the enduring hope and meaning necessary to navigate adversity. In the second half of this episode, we won't just analyse belief, but we'll talk about how to strengthen it. And we'll cover 3 strategies to build genuine confidence in your rationale. Beliefs by justifying the why, actively auditing the evidence of your beliefs, testing your hypotheses, challenging your beliefs against the real world, and practicing metacognition, separating evidence-driven beliefs from emotional-driven beliefs. It's a powerful episode, and it's about the architecture of your mind, so let's get into it. So belief is the central concept in philosophy, psychology, and religion, and is essentially refers to the mental state of taking something to be true and accepting the truth of a proposition. So here is an overview of belief across different contexts, philosophically and psychological view. So in philosophy and psychology, belief is often defined by its components and its function in our lives. Core definition, propositional attitude, is a philosophical view. Is many analytical philosophers define the belief as a propositional attitude, and this means that it's a mental stance, the attitude towards a specific statement or idea that can be expressed as a sentence, the proposition. An example of this is that the belief that the sky is blue. It is a mental attitude of acceptance towards the proposition, the sky is blue. The psychological view is that psychologically, beliefs are mental representations of how the world is expected to behave, and they serve as a mental framework or scaffolding for understanding the environment, interpreting new observations and guiding actions. And there's some key characteristics. So the assumed veracity, so beliefs are held to be true by the person who holds them, even if they cannot be 100% proven. The basis for action is that our beliefs provide a fundamental basis for how we act, feel, and interpret our outgoing experiences, or our ongoing experiences, should I say. So conscious versus the unconscious. So not all beliefs are actively thought about. Many are dispositional, unconsciousness, underlying assumptions rather than an occurrent active thought about something. Justification and knowledge. So the philosophical study of knowledge focuses on how beliefs are formed and what makes them rational, and when they qualify as knowledge. So the classic definition of knowledge is justified true belief, JTB, which has 3 conditions. The truth, the proposition is actually true, belief, you must believe the proposition, and justification, your belief must be supported by sufficient evidence or good reason. Theories of justification explore what constitutes good reasons for a belief. So the theory might be foundationalism. Some basic beliefs are self-justifying, and serve as a foundation of all other beliefs. Coherentism is a belief that is justified if it fits or coheres with the overall system of other beliefs that you hold. Reliabilism, a belief is justified if it is the result of reliable truth, conducive cognitive process, i.e. a normal sight, sound reasoning. And evidentialism is a belief is justified to a degree and it fits the available evidence. The types of belief systems are when we are collecting our mutual supportive beliefs. It's organised and it forms a belief system or worldview that helps an individual or a group make sense of reality, I guess. And these are the common categories. So religious beliefs are organised systems concerning a divine, powerful spirituality. And examples of that is Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, and Taoism. And you know, they're spiritually moral values and original purposes of life, I guess. Theistic position believes in regarding the existence of God or gods, and there's monotheism, which is one god, polytheism, which is many gods, atheism, which is no god, agnosticism, which is God existence unknown, unknowable. And then the philosophical or ideological beliefs is frameworks for ethics, politics, and understanding reality. Humanism, nihilism, monism, all is one. Political ideologies, i.e. sort of liberalism or socialism. So the core primitive beliefs is fundamental and often unquestioned assumptions about the world that influence all other thoughts, i.e. the physical world is real, my senses are generally reliable. Belief is a profound concept that connects our inner mental health to our outward actions and social structures. So when we talk about negative impact of belief on the mental health, we're generally referring to maladaptive core beliefs and cognitive distortions. They're rigid and often unconscious beliefs that bias our perceptions in a negative way. And these beliefs act as a filter, consistently leading to feelings of anxiety or depression or low self-worth, and a cycle of self-defeating behaviour. Here are the primary ways which negative belief impacts our mental health. So the impacts of negative core beliefs. So core beliefs are deep, fundamental assumptions about yourself, others, and the world that are usually formed in early life through experience.
If you're enjoying the podcast so far and appreciate our straight-talking approach to mental wellness, please take a moment to hit the subscribe or follow button on your app right now. It takes 2 seconds and it makes a massive difference. It improves the content. The more the show grows, the better the resource and the production we can bring to you each week. It helps others, and a large subscriber base pushes these practical insights out to people who need them the most. And remember, this isn't just a monologue. We want this show to be a collaborative hub. And if you're a clinician with boots on the ground experience or someone with a powerful story of resilience, I want you to be on the podcast. Let's have a real conversation and cut through the noise together. If that's you, check out our guest link in the show notes. For now, let's jump back in today's episode.
And when these are negative, they become a major foundation for mental health issues. So the core belief category might be helplessness. Examples of that belief is I am a failure, I am incapable, I cannot trust myself. And the negative mental impact is that it fuels depression and anxiety. And this leads to a sense of powerlessness, low motivation, and learned helplessness, where a person stops trying to improve their situation. It could be unlovability. I am unworthy of love. If people knew the real me, they would just reject me. I'll always be alone. And the cause is social anxiety and shame, and this drives isolation, fear of intimacy, people pleasing, interpreting neutral events as rejection. The next category is worthlessness. I am bad, I am worthless, I am permanently damaged, and this leads to a profound low self-esteem and chronic sadness, and it can be a central feature of major depression disorder and self-sabotage. And then the belief of danger. The world is unsafe. Something bad will always happen. I must be hypervigilant. And this leads to chronic anxiety and PTSD symptoms, causes constant physical stress, response fight or flight, fear and avoidance behaviours. So you can see from those how things and how core beliefs actually are impacting your mental health today. Cognitive distortions are a negative thought cycle. So negative core beliefs generate cognitive distortions, which are patterns of irrational and inaccurate thinking that reinforces the negative belief. And this creates a powerful feedback loop. Negative core belief, cognitive distortion, negative emotion, behavior, reinforced belief. So let's give some distortions and common cognitive distortions and impact. So catastrophizing, believing that what has happened or will happen is inevitably the worst case scenario. And the impact is it exacerbates anxiety, doesn't it? It leads to panic, it's paralyzing fear, and the inability to take healthy risks. All or nothing thinking, black and white. Viewing things in the extreme categories with no middle ground, i.e. perfect or failure, wonderful or terrible. And, this impact, it just fuels perfectionism and shame. And it leads to intense self-criticism, avoidance of any challenge that might not result in perfection, and a deep sense of failure after minor setbacks. And also mental filtering, focusing solely on the negative details of a situation while ignoring all the positive aspects. So the impact is that it sustains depression even when good things happen. The belief filter ensures that the person only sees evidence of their negative belief. And this overgeneralization, concluding that one negative event is a never-ending pattern of defeat or failure. For example, I failed at this presentation, so I'm a failure at my job and I will never succeed in my career. And this impact creates a feeling of hopelessness and despair. Belief and avoidance behavior. So negative beliefs often lead to behavior patterns that actually prevent healing and growth. Avoidance. If you believe you are incompetent, you will always avoid applying for promotions or taking on new responsibilities. And this lack of successful experiences just confirms your initial belief. See, I didn't try because I must have known I would just fail. It's a kind of self-sabotage, and if you believe that you don't deserve things, you unconsciously undermine your relationships or success to confirm your belief of unworthiness. And this leads to isolation. If you believe people will reject you, you will withdraw from social interaction, which reinforces the belief that you're alone and unlovable. The powerful effect of belief on mental health is why therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT are so effective, because they focus specifically on identifying challenging and reconstructing these negative core beliefs and automate distorted thoughts. Excuse me. So positive beliefs are fundamentally beneficial for mental health because they act as a psychological buffer against stress and adversity. It promotes resilience, adaptive coping, and an overall sense of well-being. And these shape how you interpret events, leading to a healthier and emotional behavioural responses. Resilience and coping mechanisms. Positive beliefs directly enhance your ability to cope with life's challenges, reducing the likelihood of developing mood and anxiety disorders. So the optimistic explanation style, and this is the most powerful, this is the most powerful belief system defining how you explain the causes of events. So negative events, i.e. failing a test. Temporary, this is just a bad day, okay, plus the specific. I wasn't prepared for this topic, external. The testing conditions were difficult. So the impact on mental health by having that optimistic view is that it reduces despair and self-blame, and it promotes the belief that setbacks are changeable, and it doesn't define the overall worth of you, fostering a quick rebound, really. A positive event, i.e. succeeding at a project. Permanently, I'm generally a capable person. Pervasive is that success reflects my overall skills, and internal succeeded because of my hard work. And this enhances self-esteem and motivation, reinforcing a positive self-concept, leading to a greater effort and persistence in future tasks. So, with increased resilience, optimistic individuals are more resilient, meaning that they view setbacks as temporary, they're surmountable rather than permanent obstacles. They focus on finding solutions and proactive problem solving instead of avoidance and rumination. And they're less likely to feel overwhelmed, leading to lower levels of stress, hormone cortisol, and less chronic anxiety. Emotional and cognitive benefits is that positive beliefs help you regulate your emotional state and improve that cognitive function. So the neurochemical effects is that positive emotions, which are fueled by positive thoughts and beliefs, can trigger reward pathways in the brain, like the ventral striatum, leading to the production of serotonin and other neurochemicals that generate feelings of calm, focus, and well-being. And this also helps reduce the activity of the amygdala, the brain region associated with fear and anxiety. With cognitive flexibility, positive beliefs encourage a growth mindset, which is a belief that and abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. And this leads to enhanced mental agility, being more open to new business ideas, and better at creating problem solving. Lower incidence of anxiety and depression by focusing on the possibilities and opportunities for growth rather than dwelling on the deficits. So the types of positive beliefs and their impacts is self-worth, lovability. I am inherently worthy of love. I am valuable. I am enough. So the positive impact is that it fosters high self-esteem, healthy interpersonal relationships. It reduces feelings of shame and isolation and makes it easier to ask and receive support. Regarding capability and control, I am competent. I can handle this. My actions have an impact. Increases the motivation and self-efficacy. Believing in one's own ability to succeed. It leads to taking action and engaging in healthier behaviours rather than just giving up. Hope and meaning. A better future is possible. My life has purpose. I can make a positive difference. And this serves as a protective factor against depression and suicidal ideation. And it provides endurance to struggle and the ability to find meaning in every difficult time. Gratitude. I have many things to be thankful. Life is abundant. This shifts the attention away from lack and negativity to improving mood and life satisfaction. And it's associated with better psychological health and increased overall happiness. So by maintaining positive core beliefs, you create an internal narrative that supports your mental and emotional health, making you more adaptable, motivated, and satisfied with life. Having confidence in your beliefs comes from being certain about why you hold them and testing them against reality. So here are 3 core strategies based on in philosophy and psychology to help you feel more confident in your beliefs. Justifying your beliefs. The why. Confidence is rooted in justification, and this strategy involves actively identifying the evidence and reasoning supporting your beliefs, rather than just holding them simply because you were told to or because they feel right. So you audit your evidence. So for any core belief you hold, for instance, I am capable of learning new skills. My political stance is sound. My scientific method is reliable. And then I can write down the specific pieces of evidence that support it. The example is if your belief is I am a competent worker, your evidence might be I'm successfully completing project A. I've received positive feedbacks from my last review, and I solved a complex problem last week. Testing for a coherence is to ensure that your beliefs don't logically contradict one another. So if you believe I deserve kindness, but I also believe I must sacrifice everything for others, these contradictory beliefs will create internal friction and reduce your confidence in both. Confident beliefs form a coherent system. So acknowledge limits. Be confident not in just what you know, but what you don't know. Confidently stating, I believe X based on this current evidence, and I am open to changing my mind if new, stronger evidence appears. And this is a sign of intellectual maturity, not weakness. So test your beliefs against the real world falsifications. So this strategy involves treating your beliefs not as absolute truths, but as hypotheses to be proven or disproven by experience. And this is a critical step in building strong, reality-tested confidence. So the prediction and action use your belief to make specific, testable predictions about the future outcome and then act on it. So for example, most people, if you believe that most people are inherently kind, test this by intentionally asking strangers for a small favour of help, where appropriate and safe. So when you receive kindness, the belief is reinforced and your confidence in it grows. So act as if you use the behavioural experiment technique from cognitive behaviour CBT. So if you lack confidence in a specific self-belief, i.e. I'm bad at public speaking, test the opposite belief. I'm capable of delivering a decent speech by deliberately preparing and giving a small talk. The actual outcome will provide you with real-world data, often showing you the negative belief was just an exaggeration. So seek out disconfirming evidence. Don't just look for information that confirms what you already think, confirmational bias. Actively look for thoughtful arguments or evidence that challenges your belief. If your belief can withstand a strong counter-argument, you will be much more confident in its strength. Practice metacognition, self-awareness. Metacognition is a thinking about thinking. By understanding the source and the type of your belief, you've gained control over it. So differential belief or emotion. Learn to distinguish between a belief that is based on logic and evidence and a belief that is driven purely by intense emotion like fear, anger, or past trauma. An example of this might be, everyone is looking at me. It's often a feeling of driven belief or driven by anxiety rather than the evidence of driven belief. So when you can separate the two, you feel more confident, I guess, in the rational belief. Identifying beliefs of the origin. So ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Was it from trust, a trusted mentor? Was it a traumatic event? Was there a childhood conditioning around it? Or rational analysis. So understanding the origin can help you determine its current validity and whether it serves you well. Use confident language. Consciously eliminate tentative language when speaking or thinking about your justified beliefs. Instead of saying, I guess I think that this is the right approach, say, I believe that this is the most effective approach because of X, Y, Z. And this consistent internal and external phrasing reinforces certainty, doesn't it? So the conclusion, the power is the power you hold, really. So that brings us to the end of 97 on belief. We started out by defining belief, moving from a philosophical idea to a propositional attitude to a psychological concept of being the scaffolding of your reality. We explored the devastating impact of maladaptive core beliefs and cognitive distortions, those rigid and negative filters that fuel anxiety and depression. But more importantly, we covered the incredible protective power of positive beliefs, which provide us with resilience, hope, and self-efficacy needed to adapt and thrive. Remember, confidence in your mind starts with confidence in your beliefs. So take the strategies we discussed. Justify your beliefs, test them against reality, and practice metacognition, and start applying them today. Every time you consciously challenge an unhelpful assumption, you are actively reconstructing your mental health. The final thoughts and steps. The most powerful tool for change is not what you believe, it's how you believe it. So make it your goal this week to identify one core belief you hold and write it down, all the evidence for it. Thank you for tuning in to No Nonsense Psychiatry. If this episode helped you examine the architecture of your own mind, please share it with somebody who needs to hear it and leave us a rating and review. Until the next time, be well, be evidence-based, and be confident in your beliefs.
Before we go, if you found the podcast helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. You can also support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It only takes a moment, but it makes a big difference in helping us reach more people. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode of No Nonsense Psychiatry.
No nonsense.